All right, ladies and gents. Yeah, there's the Jungle Book 2016. This remake, reboot. Well, I don't know. It's not really a reboot, I guess. I mean, there was. Okay. Anyways, yeah, we'll just call it the 2016 version of the Jungle Book. It's directed by Jon Favreau, of course, from Walt Disney Studios. Great cast here. And before I get into how amazed I was with this film and just how much I genuinely enjoyed it, just full disclosure here. I'm not a huge gigantic fan of the original 67. I think it's 67 at least 67 68 animated version. Um, for me, it's kind of I haven't seen it all the way through. Probably in over a decade. Probably over a decade. It's been a long, long time since I've seen it from beginning to end. For me, that's the same as some of the other Disney classics out there, like 101 Dalmatians, the animated, is one that, it's fun, but, I never really got attached to it the same way I did with, say, I don't know, the Pinocchio was one that I've watched all the way through just a few years ago, actually. And like Snow White was one, Cinderella for me. I think of a couple other ones. Like Dumbo is one that maybe I haven't seen all the way through in a long, long time too. So yes, yeah, some of these Disney classics, are kind of hit and miss for me as a kid. When you're in the prime of your Disney enjoyment, so to speak. Well, then again, I guess you can be 90 and enjoy them. But when you're in that target audience that they just try to nail every single time, in the best way possible, of course. You know, it was Jungle Book was one that was like, it's okay. I mean, I always liked Baloo, that his character. I always liked the snake part though with Kaa when he's. I think it's a he. At least it's a he when when it's voiced in the original, and it's Scarlett Johansson in the new one. And trying to hypnotize everybody. I always found that cool. And then Shere Khan, I was always kind of scared of him, but I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the King Louis number, "Want to Be Like You." I always liked that part, and yeah. So, anyways, but yeah. So going into this newer Jungle Book, I'm like, well, I haven't, I know, the characters, Bangshira, or is it Bashira? I can't even remember now. And then Baloo and King Louis and Kaa and the Wolf Mom, who I can't remember the name of. Anyways, but all these, I remember it's almost like this. The original novel is kind of like this, like the Odyssey. It's so episodic and stuff that you go to. First you go here, then you go here, then you go here. The same way with like Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that, where it's so episodic that it almost feels like it might as well be like a little TV series. You have like a mini series, like one episode's with the Mad Hatter, and this episode's with the Queen of Hearts and all that, or the Red. I can't even remember what. Yeah, that was a recent movie that they remade, and I saw that, and that one's not so good. But anyways, can't even remember those characters' names, and they have a sequel coming out in a month. But yeah, and I kind of felt the same way about the original. It's kind of like, oh, well, here's the episode with Khan, and here's the episode with Shere Khan, the big confrontation and stuff. Here's the one with Bashira, and here's the one with and name all the characters there. This newer Jungle Book, though, man, this if only so many viewing experiences for me in the theater or just on TV or whatever were this exhilarating, this fun, brought up my spirits. Not that I'm depressed or anything, but I went into the movie. I was like, okay, let's enjoy the Jungle, and I came out. I was yeah, that was going through my head, and I was like, man, it's so much fun, and. And I think it is. It's probably the best family film I've seen in a long time. Probably. Uh, would you count Life of Pi maybe as a family film? But even then, I would maybe go more toward just like a drama. But maybe Toy Story 3 is the best one. The best since then. Is it as good as Toy Story 3? Maybe not. But anyways. But yeah, just yeah, for me, one of the best family films I've seen in a long, long time. But I will say, just full warning here, For parents, though, probably, and you know your children better than anybody, but maybe six and up will probably enjoy this more. There are some kind of more violent parts. There's a little more violence in here than I expected. Blood is shed, characters die. There's a little melancholia in there at times. Um, there's a bit like I said, there's a big confrontation at the end, and that got a really more violent than I thought it would. And I'm actually kind of surprised they got away with a PG here. I think in the same way that people got surprised when Toy Story 3, had the Holocaustal elements in their imagery kind of look similar. People were like, "How is this a G-rated movie?" And it's like, well, yeah, the rest of the movie's fine, but just that end part, where they're going into the trash, or not trash compactor, but Star Wars on the mind. When they're going into the trash, incinerator there, and they, all that in that movie. But there are moments of darkness in here and of violence and stuff. I was kind of surprised it got away with a PG instead of a PG-13. But yeah, so yeah, I would say probably six, about six and up probably for this one, maybe 7 or 8. Like I said, your kid better than anybody. If they're already watching Deadpool and stuff, then okay, yeah, fine. But you know, anyways, but yeah, I was totally blown away with this movie. Starting with just the special effects and and everything, and the set design and the character design, everything just looked spectacular. I mean, I don't know how else to say this, but it's the most realistic depiction I think of talking animals that we've ever seen in a more live action set. Um, yeah, I mean, even to me, it got to the point where like King Louis, who's Christopher Walken, which is as fun as it sounds. It really is. I mean, they deliver on that part in spades. That was so much fun to watch him be King Louis. But even like the eyes looked like Christopher Walken's eyes, and even the shape of the orangutan's face almost. I was like, man, how was that not motion captured? Because it looks so much like Christopher Walken, but it wasn't. It was all just animated in there. And I think the same goes with Ben Kingsley as Bashira. I mean, absolutely, the eyes just like became as expressive as Kingsley's eyes get sometimes. And I was like, Mike, and it kind of reminded me like that's when I really, really enjoy these movies, like some of the Pixar movies. Like you can see a little bit of, well, for me personally, like especially Up, you can see how Ed Asner just his who does the voice work of Carl, the main character in that movie. Even his face looks similar to the face of Ed Asner a little bit. You can kind of see it in there, and the expressionism is in there. And for me, I always thought that Buzz Lightyear kind of looks a little bit like Tim Allen, kind of sort of. And you can see the expressions in there, and the way the eyes, eye color is the same, or when they raise their eyes, it's almost like the actors in front of you, and that's I always find that crazy good, and I wish almost every animated feature or motion capture performance was that good. And but yeah, especially I think when the wolves were talking, and the wolves who raised Mowgli, of course, are probably some of the more featured animals in here. They just looked the most realistic I've ever seen an animal that's animated depicted in a live action setting. Otherwise, even though I know it's all green screen and stuff, it's kind of hard to say it that way, but it's kind of hard to say that they're the most real looking fake animals that talk that I've ever seen. Definitely. Maybe it was a little cartoony on Baloo, but that's a cartoony character, so I kind of get what they were maybe going for, or maybe that's just the best they could do. Bashira looked okay. Shere Khan was amazing looking too. And then also, well, we'll get to the voice acting here in a minute, but that one especially, oh boy. I already mentioned King Louis, Ka. Yeah, that one's very cartoony, but it's kind of hard to get like a Scarlett Johansson look because obviously a snake's head and a human's head looks 100% different. But that was probably one of the ones where I was like, okay, they just stuck somebody in a booth, and that's the one that felt the most or the least connectable, I think. But that's almost impossible to do though. So it's almost like that's the only avenue you could take. But yeah, that's not. I don't think that's a negative on the film or anything. Let's see here. What else? Oh yeah, let's just get to the voice acting now. Absolutely tremendous voice acting work from Bill Murray, one of his best roles in a long time. Ben Kingsley was great. He's always great in everything he does. Let's see who else was. Lupita Nyong'o really was great as the mother wolf. Tremendous job there, and she probably the most emotional part of the movie, definitely. And I think they've released clips of it and stuff. You can see it online. But there's the part where Mowgli kind of has to leave the wolves for the first time, and she kind of says, you're still my son and stuff like that, even if you're not a true wolf and everything. That was, man, that was really more emotional than. And like I said, I haven't seen the original film in a long time, but I can't remember there was an emotional part that strong in the original. I don't know, maybe there was and I just forgot it, but man, that just hits you right where you live. Even though you've only known the wolf characters and Mowgli for maybe 10, 15 minutes, it's it's still an emotional scene, and really very, very well done by Lupita Nyong'o and the boy actor whose name I don't know, and I'm usually terrible at that, but whoever this kid is, man, what a great job. I mean, it's difficult to work in green screen alone, but then also have to carry almost the entire weight of the film on your shoulders when you're maybe 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. That is impeccably just an impeccable task and impeccably performed, I think, by the kid. Absolutely great acting here, and I want to see this kid do other stuff. I thought he was spectacular. Yeah, I think my two favorites, at least when it came to the voice acting, was definitely Christopher Walken, who, God, I couldn't get enough of his. Yeah, again, I don't think it's a spoiler or anything, but he's only in all of one scene where he gets, but it's a longer scene. I mean, it's like a 10-minute scene with King Louis there. And I mean, he was just terrific. He even gets to sing the "Be Like You" song a little, at least not the whole entire thing, but part of it. And man, I was like, God, if only the rest of the movie was like, was this great on the voice casting, and they got such a personality that you wouldn't think would fit, and seems like it would be just a typecasting. But man, I think he got into it, and you could tell he's having a lot of fun, and even if he's not technically motion capture, he's not on set. You can tell he's having fun doing the part. And then the other one, I think the king here has got to be Idris Elba's Shere Khan. Jesus Christ, he was terrifying, and he did his lines from a booth. That's powerful stuff. I mean, and true, the animation and everything is terrific too on him. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's one part where he's with the wolf cubs, and he's kind of telling them a story and trying to relate to him how Mowgli doesn't fit, and he's talking about cuckoo birds and how the cuckoo bird mother puts the cuckoo egg in another bird's nest so that when it hatches, the mother takes all the care to this other one, this cuckoo bird who's different from the rest, and the other birds that are either there already or hatch afterwards or maybe slightly before, whatever. The other birds there, they starve because the mother is all attentive on this one cuckoo bird. And that, I mean, it's a little tiny monologue, little story there, but I was like, God, that's fantastic. Again, I can't remember that being in the original, but even if it was in the original, man, great adaptation there too. I don't think it was. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it in years, but and then there's a part, yeah, and then the mom says, kids, get away from him and stuff, and then I think there's like 3 or 4 cubs there, and 2 or 3 of them get up, and then the last one starts to get up, and he goes, and he makes him stop. And just the way the animation just on the tiger's face was just like, don't mess with me. Oh my God, it was so, and the straight face there was so, it was actually kind of bone chilling. I mean, just this little part. I mean, it was, again, it lasts all of 20 seconds, but man, your attitudes toward that character, at first he's kind of that playful, kind of a playful villain, but one you still kind of take seriously, and he's kind of menacing. Then he does something else too, which is pretty menacing. I don't want to give that away outright because I don't think it was the same way in the original film, but and that was that shows you, okay, he's not messing around. But then this was like, dude, he wants, he's gonna get what he wants, and he doesn't give a goddamn what he has to do to get to get what he wants. That was spectacular, I thought. And yeah, just even when he's just doing the voice acting, man, that was whoever thought of Idris Elba, whether that was Favreau or Disney, one of the Disney upper people who were passing down notes on try to get these people. Idris Elba, whoever wrote Idris Elba's name down, thank you. That was. I mean, I think this has got to be one of the best just vocal performances that in years. Again, I'm saying in years here, but it's true. I can't think of the last time we had this great a vocal performance. Maybe fellow cast member Scarlett Johansson and her, the way that the emotions came through a little box, that Joaquin Phoenix is carrying around, like his little phone or tablet or whatever that was, that Samantha was on in that movie, Her, which was a really great movie up until the ending I didn't like. But anyways, um, yeah, and then like I said, yeah, the kid is tremendous who plays Mowgli is absolutely dynamite. I want to see him get more stuff. Absolutely, I want to see him. And then they're talking about maybe doing a sequel to this. And well, not to give anything away, but there's elements of. I remember how the original film ends, and the original film and this film's endings aren't exactly 100% the same. Maybe a certain scene that resolved everything in the original film is not present here. Just saying. So okay, that's something they can do down the line. There's other. I think there might have been one or two side characters from the first animated film that they didn't bring in. Like I think there was vultures. There we go. Yeah, there were no vultures in the movie, so that's something you might do down the line or something. But I kind of like this idea. Okay, here's your basic remake setup. I want to see the sequel do something where he kind of starts to get like into that 12, 13-year-old range where he's like, okay, he's really, his muscles are really starting to grow now, and the voice changes and stuff, and he goes through, puberty. I mean, we don't have to see him masturbate or anything like like some of these movies do when they portray puberty, but that'd be a little too far for Disney, I think. But try to get that out of your head now. I want to see him, yeah, go that route there, and then maybe have a little like I want to see. Okay, so if they did it like this as a trilogy, now let's just jump the gun here a little bit and jump the shark, I should say, and do a trilogy. Okay, this is the first film. The second film, he goes through his trials and errors and stuff, and then he, still growing through the jungle. He's getting, he's starting to become more of a man, physically, and go through the changes there. And then by the end of the second film, he goes to the village, and then he stays there, and the film ends. Then the third film starts with him in the village, and then eventually he decides, no, it's kind of better to go in the jungle, and he goes back to the jungle to visit all of his friends, and maybe a couple of them are dead, maybe have died, or somebody else has come in and taken over the jungle and stuff, and now he's kind of like a more like 16, 17, 18-year-old, and he's pretty much all full grown now, and and him dealing with does he and maybe he's got friends back there, girlfriend, wife, maybe, I don't know. And he kind of has to decide, okay, is it, stay with my new family or go back to my old family who may not even want to accept me anymore, and, have a little conflict there. And, I'm just saying, maybe that's what their plan is. Maybe I'm totally off the chain here. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of like, I like where they maybe set up the possibility of some sequels here. And I think I'd be open to it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when they did a Jungle Book 2 and it was animated, I think in the early 2000s, like John Goodman as Baloo and stuff. I remember I went to see that in the theater, and even in the theater I was like, this sucks. I was like, it's such a cash grab. And I was like, probably like, what was I, maybe 6 or 7 years old, 8 years old. I was like, this is terrible. Even then I had no interest in the movie afterwards. There were even movies I saw when I was a little kid, like Good Boy. Remember that one? That would stun. I haven't like that was one where I at least rented it once or twice afterwards because I was a little kid, and that was I was the prime target there for the audience, and I bought into it. But I was a prime audience too for like Jungle Book 2, and I didn't want to go near that film after it was over. I was like, probably, yeah, it was probably one of the first movies I ever went to in a theater where I came out and said I didn't like that one. Might have been the first one. Anyways, but yeah, I do like where they could potentially go in a further continuation of the series, or make it into a series for one, and do a sequel. and hopefully, yeah, Jon Favreau or whoever else can jump on board and direct it as well. Because yeah, like I said, this is exhilarating and triumphant and just a wondrous display of special effects. And it's always a good story, Jungle Book. I mean, like I said, it's got elements of the Odyssey in there, and it's got heart, it's got comedy. The comedy works. Um, Adventure, there's terror, there's some scary parts, action parts. There is a little bit of everything in there. Yeah, the only thing that I was going to say, is for all of you who now are demanding that every Disney movie be turned into a live action movie now, I say no to The Lion King because, well, for one, I'm probably one of the only people in the world who doesn't think The Lion King is, the best or second best animated film ever. It's kind of overrated, in my opinion. Still good. I mean, sure, the soundtrack of that song is one of the best ever. Um, the animation style, everything. There's lots of memorable sequences, but I don't know. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah. But basically, this almost feels like like it might as well be The Lion King, except with Mowgli in it. There's no lions or anything, but it's like there's a scene where Mowgli goes into this little kind of trench thing or cavern, or I can't remember what it was. But he's kind of there's an ambush comes in and out, or not ambush. What am I saying? Got a stampede of whatever they were. I can't remember what they were. Animals come through, and I was like, oh, that's exactly like the scene in Lion King, And Shere Khan's up above, and he's watching, seeing what happens and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, there's an inspiration maybe from Lion King. Again, I don't remember that being in the original film. The animal on animal fights, which I think there were a couple in the original film, but the way they got to the ferocity they did in the animated Lion King, I'm like, yep, okay. So yeah, I think for everybody who's demanding a live action Lion King movie, I think the Jungle Book it's good. It's like and it's got elements in there that are almost like the Lion King itself. So that's one. Yeah, if they did that one as live action, I might go see it. But yeah, this one I was like, at first I was like, oh, okay, and then when Jon Favreau was announced to direct, I was like, okay, that piques my interest a little more. The casting announced and stuff, I'm like, okay, that sounds like they got a good project going here. And then the trailers and stuff came out, and I was like, oh, this does look really good, and all the visual effects and everything look really great. And yeah, I think it is. I think it is the best family film we've had in a long time. It's one, yeah, definitely. I'd say again, parents be the judge here, but for me, I would say 5 or 6 is that kind of I don't know below 5 and maybe 5 and under for sure is ones you might want to get a babysitter for, or just pop in the original on DVD or whatever. But yeah, 6 and up I think can take the film because it does get a little intense at parts and a little scary and a little violent and stuff. But I think they can handle it. Yeah, and I think adults will be entertained and captivated and everything, and the voice work will get them through maybe some of the ever so slightly. There's maybe 1 or 2 little parts here that get a little jokey, but they're over before you know it. And the songs they only use Bare Necessities and Want to Be Like You, but man, yeah, Bill Murray he does great as Baloo, especially in the singing part. And like I said, King Louie, that song is like that's one of the highlights of the film for sure. I mean, if you did like a 5 best scenes in the film, that's got to be up there at the number 3, 2, or 1 spot for me at least. But yeah, there's a lot of terrific stuff here, and it's definitely one I would encourage everybody to see. Whether you've got a whole family with you or if you're just by yourself, go see it. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, so I think 10 out of 10. I didn't. I mean, right off the top, I couldn't think of way too many complaints here, except maybe there's maybe a couple of parts where it gets a little jokey and kind of aims for that really like 3, 4, 5-year-old audience. There's no poop or fart jokes or anything, but thank God. But that would seem out of place. But there's a couple parts where they kind of banter for a little too long. A couple side characters and stuff, but like I said, they're quick scenes. It's not like it's a 5-minute scene or anything. But and yeah, the visual effects are tremendous. Direction is great. Acting is great, whether it's voice acting or actual in front of camera performance. yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of anything to really complain about here. It's all really great. There's parts of it that like for me, like the first hour, especially, just like wham, it just goes and goes and goes. It doesn't stop. And then for me, it felt like that last 45 minutes. At times, it felt like the pace was kind of slowing down a little bit, but it's not, but not in a bad way. I mean, as in they were trying. It felt like it got to as it's only like an hour 45, but it felt a little bit longer, but I mean that in the best way possible. There's an element where it goes so fast and then it kind of slows down a little bit, but you're like, well, I don't want it to end though. I mean, it's still, it's kind of nice we get this little break in momentum here that we've had, but yeah, I really yeah. I felt great, and my spirits were lifted after seeing the film, and I felt great. Bare necessities was going through my head, and yeah, it was yeah, it's a great viewing experience for me. So yeah, 10 out of 10. It's actually 10 out of 10, not 5 out of 5 like last time. That was stupid. I don't know why. I don't know how I didn't catch myself there. Anyways, but yeah, I thought yeah, Jungle Book was terrific. Absolutely, and I think it's almost, well, I won't say guaranteed. There's a lot still to come out this year, but right now it's looking pretty good for a spot in my top 10. And yeah, it's definitely the best film I've seen so far this year. But well, then again, I've only seen what, like Deadpool, Hail Caesar, Batman v Superman. I think that's it. I haven't seen nearly as much as I usually see at this point. But yeah, yeah. To wrap this up quick, 10 out of 10, Jungle Book. I'd say see it. It's great.